A new beginning, an old shadow. The Carter family, full of hope and optimism, drove through the heartland of America. Their destination, a quaint, albeit dilapidated farmhouse miles from the nearest town. John, the father, saw it as a fresh start, a chance to escape the city's clamor and reconnect with his family. Sarah, his wife, was more apprehensive, but her reservations were overshadowed by John's infectious enthusiasm and the prospect of a simpler life. Their daughter, 8-year-old Lily, stared wide-eyed at the passing fields, her imagination already weaving tales of the farmhouse's hidden secrets. As the sun began its descent, casting long, ominous shadows across the fields, they finally pulled up the gravel driveway. The farmhouse stood before them, eerily silent. Even in the fading light, the chipped paint, boarded-up windows, and overgrown weeds hinted at years of neglect. A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. John, oblivious to his wife's unease, unloaded their belongings, his cheerful whistling a stark contrast to the unsettling silence of the house. Lily, clutching her favorite teddy bear, cautiously followed her father, her eyes darting about, absorbing every creak and groan of the old house. As they stepped inside, a musty smell, thick with the scent of decay, hit them. The air inside felt heavy, almost suffocating, as if the house itself was holding its breath, observing its new occupants. Echoes of the past. The first few days were a blur of unpacking and cleaning. John, ever the optimist, threw himself into the renovations, determined to restore the house to its former glory. Sarah, while still uneasy, busied herself with making the house feel like a home, her anxieties momentarily forgotten in the flurry of activity. Lily, however, remained withdrawn. She wandered the house with a sense of trepidation, her large, watchful eyes scanning the darkened corners and dusty furniture. She felt a presence, unseen but palpable, watching her, following her every move. One evening, while exploring the attic, she stumbled upon a small, dusty trunk tucked away in a corner. Curiosity got the better of her, and with bated breath she lifted the heavy lid. Inside, she discovered a collection of old toys, a wooden doll with vacant eyes, a faded teddy bear missing an eye, and a worn children's book with a single word scrawled on the cover: quiet. As Lily reached for the book, she heard a soft whisper, barely audible but undeniably clear. "Don't." Lily slammed the trunk shut and scrambled back, her heart pounding in her chest. The quiet man. From that day forward, Lily couldn't shake off the feeling that she was being watched, followed. She started seeing a figure lurking at the edge of her vision, a tall, skeletal silhouette shrouded in darkness. Whenever she tried to focus on it, it would vanish. She tried to tell her parents about the figure, referring to it as the quiet man, but they dismissed her stories as an overactive imagination. "It's just an old house, sweetheart," her father would say. "Your imagination is running wild." But Lily knew what she had seen. The quiet man was real, and he was haunting their new home. The name the quiet man came naturally to Lily. He never spoke, never made a sound. He simply observed, his presence a cold weight on her small chest. He was always lurking just beyond the reach of the light, his hollow eyes watching her every move. Lily began to fear the dark, the shadows that stretched and danced in the corners of her vision. She started sleeping with the lights on, her teddy bear clutched tightly in her arms, but even then she couldn't shake the feeling of the quiet man's presence. Whispers in the dark. As days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences in the farmhouse intensified. Objects began to move inexplicably. Lily's toys would be found scattered across the floor in the morning, even though she distinctly remembered putting them away. Doors creaked open and slammed shut on their own, the sound echoing through the empty halls like mournful cries. One morning, Sarah woke up to find handprints, small and childlike, etched into the condensation on the bathroom mirror. They hadn't been there the night before. The lights flickered incessantly, casting the house in an unsettling strobe light effect. Shadows seemed to writhe and contort in the dim light, taking on monstrous shapes that sent shivers down their spines. Even John, with his unwavering optimism, couldn't deny the strange happenings any longer. He tried to rationalize them, blaming faulty wiring or drafts for the unexplainable events, but deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. He found himself listening more intently to Lily's stories, his heart sinking a little more with each passing day. Despite the escalating events, John and Sarah tried to maintain a sense of normalcy for Lily's sake. They told her it was all in her head, that the house was just old and creaky. They bought her new toys, hoping to distract her from the strange happenings, but nothing seemed to work. Lily was withdrawn, her once bright eyes now clouded with fear. She refused to be alone, clinging to her parents as if her life depended on it. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, the lights began to flicker violently. The shadows danced more aggressively, twisting and contorting like phantoms in the dim light. Lily, clutching her fork, her eyes wide with terror, whispered, "The quiet man is here." John, trying to sound reassuring, told her to stop it, that there was no such thing as a quiet man. But as he glanced up at the doorway behind Lily, his blood ran cold. Standing in the doorway, partially obscured by the flickering light, was the figure Lily had been describing, tall and skeletal, with long, bony fingers that scraped against the doorframe. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle, and its eyes, hollow and black, seemed to suck the light out of the room. The figure took a step forward, and John could see that it wasn't wearing any clothes. Its skin was stretched taut over its bones, giving it the appearance of a living skeleton. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. John and Sarah sat frozen in terror, their eyes locked on the horrifying apparition. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, the figure raised its bony hand and pointed directly at Lily. A raspy voice, barely audible, seemed to emanate from the very walls of the house. "She is mine." That was it, the breaking point. John leaped from his chair, grabbing Sarah and Lily and ushering them out of the house in a frenzy of fear and adrenaline. They didn't stop running until they reached the safety of their car. As John sped away from the farmhouse, he could see in his rearview mirror the skeletal figure standing on the porch, its hollow eyes burning into them, a silent promise that it would not be forgotten. The Carters never returned to the farmhouse. They left everything behind, desperate to escape the nightmare they had stumbled into. Word of the haunted farmhouse spread through the town, whispers of the quiet man and the family he had terrorized. Locals claimed the house remained abandoned, shunned by those who knew its dark history. They said the quiet man still walked its halls, waiting for his next victims, his silence more terrifying than any scream. So, I leave you with this. Would you dare spend a night in the farmhouse? Would you brave the silence, the shadows, the chilling presence of the quiet man? Or would you, like the Carters, run and never look back? The choice, my friends, is yours.